The mayor of Boston, Massachusetts, Marty Walsh, made it very clear on Friday in a series of tweets that there will be no large gatherings of any kind in his city this summer. That is bad news for SummerSlam. He said, "We are planning a healthy reopening and an equitable recovery process as soon as the health data tells us it is safe, but we do not envision a point this summer when it will make sense to have large crowds gathered in close contact for prolonged periods of time. I can announce that parades and festivals will not take place this summer in the city of Boston up to and including Labor Day on September 7th. For smaller events, we will be looking at them on a case-by-case basis. As we move through the summer months, if your event brings crowds together in close contact, like a concert, a road race, or a flag raising, you should start looking at alternatives now." A flag raising. Is that a thing? Is that like a big event? What an odd thing to give as an example. I mean, I know what a flag raising is, but I didn't know that it was some kind of big spectator sport. But I mean, if flag raisings are not going to be permitted, then SummerSlam is all but dead in the city of Boston this year. And not only SummerSlam, WWE was planning 4 different events. It's like a little WrestleMania weekend in the summer. They were planning 4 different events around and including SummerSlam at the TD Garden, 4 straight days starting with SmackDown on Friday, NXT TakeOver on Saturday, SummerSlam on Sunday, and then Monday Night Raw the next night. So that's 4 WWE shows now the company will have to find a new home for. Hey, it's not too late for Vince McMahon to talk about, talk to Dana White about coming to Fight Island. There have been reports about WWE considering maybe hosting SummerSlam on a beach, like a private beach somewhere. I don't know where this report originated from, if it's just somebody thinking out loud and all of a sudden it became news. I don't know where it came from. I don't know if there's any truth to it. Now people are talking about them possibly doing SummerSlam from Hulk Hogan's private beach down in Clearwater, Florida. Hogan has, private beach property down there. I guess a lot of people who own property down in Clearwater have, beach behind them and have, ownership, I guess, of parts of these beaches, this beach land. And Hogan has his own private beach. That's where he's been quarantined, I think, with his wife. But I looked into that. I said, where is this coming from? And then I see it's just an idea. It's merely an idea that some website speculated about and how they could charge fans to attend and have them adhere to social distancing rules. I don't believe WWE has even approached Hogan with the idea. And look, if I'm Hulk Hogan, why the hell would I want to invite all of these people onto my private secluded beach where I'm quarantined in the middle of a pandemic? And he's 66 years old, no less. Now, granted, he's in better shape than most 66-year-olds, but he's 66 years old. I'm not inviting anyone. I'm half his age, and I'm not even inviting anyone if I have a private beach, which I don't. I'm not inviting anyone onto my private beach if I owned one. But if I did, people would not be welcome with a deadly virus still spreading around. He is out of his mind if he agrees to that. If it ever gets to the point where Vince McMahon picks up the phone to call Hulk Hogan and propose such an idea, if I'm Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon calls me to propose something like this, I would hang up on him before he even finished the sentence. But I do think that the idea of finding some other private beach to host SummerSlam, even without fans, forget charging fans, even if it was just empty arena but outdoors on a little sliver of beach somewhere, if that's even practical, I do think that would be a cool idea. I'm not saying it's not a cool idea. It would certainly fit the SummerSlam theme. It would be the most SummerSlam location to host SummerSlam in the history of SummerSlam if they did it on a literal, actual beach. Which means that we're probably getting the Performance Center in Orlando for SummerSlam this year. The only thing you're getting more use than a Clorox wipe these days is the WWE Performance Center, but boy, they ought to be lucky they have it, because if they didn't, they'd be in real trouble. It's also possible by then that, Florida or some other states allow for crowds at a reduced capacity, 10%, 25%, and maybe they can actually get some people into the building. But it will not be in Boston. Pro wrestling in Chicago, or anywhere in the state of Illinois, also appears to be dead after the state's governor, J.B. Pritzker, announced this week that large events like concerts, festivals, and conventions in the state are effectively canceled until one of two things happen. This is the criteria that needs to be met for these events to take place in Chicago or in the state of Illinois once again. We either have a vaccine developed for COVID, or new cases of the virus in the state stop popping up. So that puts their big annual Lollapalooza music festival in jeopardy, because that's coming up in August. But it also puts AEW in the danger zone, because All Out, I mean, that they wanted to turn this into an annual tradition in Chicago at the Sears Center, where it all began, right? That's where All In was. It's going to be their big annual tradition, just like running Vegas over Memorial Day weekend. They wanted that to be their big annual tradition. The virus had other ideas. The virus doesn't give a shit about your annual traditions. But it puts them in the danger zone if they were planning on running the Sears Center over Labor Day weekend. So they will, I'm sure they'll be an All Out, but it will probably not be taking place in Chicago. New Japan. New Japan does not get off easy either. Its hopes of running Madison Square Garden that same weekend, SummerSlam weekend, for its Wrestle Dynasty show have been dashed, as they announced this week that the event has been postponed to a date to be determined in 2021. I feel like everything is just being pushed back a year to 2021. There's a lot of movies that have been pushed back, because the movie industry obviously has been impacted by this as well. A lot of movie theaters are closed. When they open up, who the hell's going to want to go back to a movie theater? Are you going to want to be the first person back in the movie theater? Good luck. Good luck. They have a new Saw film that was supposed to come out this month. I can't believe they're still making these. What was this, the 9th one? Is this Saw 9? Saw 10? I don't know. What number is this? But there's a new Saw film called Spiral, which I was intrigued by. I am intrigued by, if only because it's a serious film. It's a horror film that happens to have Chris Rock, who you would not normally associate with a film like this, and Samuel L. Jackson. They're the leads in this new Saw movie. That has been pushed back an entire year. This was going to be the first Saw movie not to be released on Halloween. I can only assume because they didn't want to compete with the next Halloween movie, since the first one that they, the reboot, whatever, with Jamie Lee Curtis did so well. So Halloween Kills is the next Michael Myers movie. That's supposed to be coming out around Halloween this year. That may end up being pushed back too. I mean, how do you release a Halloween movie not on Halloween? If that gets pushed back, it could be another year-long wait for that too. It's too bad, again, I don't go to the movies very often anymore. I used to go a lot. People are just very annoying and obnoxious, and to go here in New York to the movies, I mean, you may as well go get a fancy dinner at a restaurant somewhere. So I don't go as often as I used to. But I saw that Halloween movie. I did see that in the theater when it came out, I guess last year. Was it last year? I think it was last year. And it really was the best place to see it, like in a crowd of people enjoying the movie and cheering. And I mean, some parts of the movie got standing ovation. That can be fun. I haven't seen that in a movie since I saw Jason vs. Freddy. The very end of the movie, that final scene, which I won't spoil, people literally stood up and gave the movie a standing ovation when the credits began to roll. Stuff like that is fun. Stuff like that. It's not unlike wrestling events and wrestling crowds. Right? You get your wrestling events sometimes, these fans, or even at Full Sail NXT shows sometimes, these fans can be some of the most obnoxious people that you have ever seen. And all you want to do is just push a button and make them disappear. But there are other times where the crowd makes the moment. And certain matches and moments would not be as memorable or as fun or as big as they were if you didn't have this wildly, cheering, loud crowd that was into everything. So I kind of feel the same way about movie theater crowds. At least the theaters I've gone to, I've seen fights break out. I'm just like slinking down in my seat. I'm just here to watch, the Minions. I mean, not the Minions, Toy Story. I never saw the Minions. I did see Toy Story 4. That's another movie I went to the theater to see. Anyway, the point of all this is to say that it'll be a while before I venture back to a movie theater. But New Japan has been hit hard. I mean, look, first they canceled the new Japan Cup. Then they just canceled the Best of the Super Juniors. Now they cancel Wrestle Dynasty, which was going to be one of their biggest shows of the year. or canceled it for this year, moved it to next year. Is the G1 Climax safe? That's really the next question. What happens now to the G1? Now, if the G1 under normal circumstances was happening in the summer as it does every single year, then there would be no G1. But they moved it to the fall, I think for the first time ever, because the Olympics were coming to Japan, which of course now the Olympics is not taking place. It's been bumped. That also has been bumped back by a year. A lot can happen between now and September, now and October. I would say it's not looking good, but they've got a fighting chance. Because if the G1 was going to start in July, I don't think they'd have much of a chance at all. New Japan also announced that Okada is donating 5 million yen, or the equivalent of almost 50,000 American dollars of his money, to a special COVID relief fund supporting doctors, nurses, and volunteers working on the front lines combating the virus in Japan. The Rainmaker, making it rain on all of the first responders over in Japan.